mind-blowing this, frontline officers should do something about it. I know, I'm as surprised as you are. But the person crucially calling this out is the country's longest-serving Chief Constable, and that's Sir Andy Marsh, who now leads the College of Policing. He's been backed by the Greater Manchester Police Chief, Sir Stephen Watson, and Merseyside Chief Constable, Serena Kennedy. Well, let's talk about this with Kevin Hurley. He's a former Detective Chief Superintendent in the Met Police. A very good morning to you, Kevin.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us. I just find it fascinating at the moment that we have headlines about senior police officers telling officers that they should, I don't know, arrest people for crimes. I mean, it just seems like such an avant-garde idea. I wonder if it will catch on.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. This has been, how can I put it, spoken about poorly. The issue here is that our police on the street, and by that I mean the ones who are in the response roles, through a combination of either being rushed from pillar to post, being distracted from their job by having to sit on hospital guards on mentally disordered people because there's not the mental health care there once was, or because of the fact they're told continually to back off when confronted in different states, particularly with certain ethnic minority communities. We've actually got a workforce that's badly demoralised and badly demotivated. If we combine that with the fact that the impact of Theresa May and Cameron's cuts starting from 2010 has had a catastrophic effect on the retention of experienced officers.
I mean, some of it is about money, some of it's about paperwork, some of it is the mad ideological stuff, isn't it? But police officers, and I know rank and file officers, Bobby's walking the beat, they feel they've totally got their hands tied behind their back, as you say, spending a lot of time dealing with mental health issues of people, and because social services and everyone don't turn up, and they haven't got time to do the policing. But when you talk about police chiefs saying, look, the smell of cannabis is a sign of crime, because by definition you shouldn't be in possession of cannabis, you shouldn't be smoking cannabis. But we know only a tiny proportion of those caught with it are ever actually charged and ever actually get a conviction. I mean, a tiny percentage, and it has been, to all intents and purposes, almost legalised as long as you're not supplying it, you haven't got a load of you. But it is an indicator, isn't it, that of criminality.
Of course, I mean, it's an indicator, and to all intents and purposes, shoplifting, not paying your fare on buses and tubes and trains has been quasi, legalised. Yeah. And the issue on all of this comes down to where I was going with, because of the impact of what I would call the political attack on the police by Theresa May, cuts in pay, cuts in their training, attacks on the leadership, etc., trying to say, no, you can't do this with this ethnic minority group and so on. Yeah. You've ended up with the level of experience of people patrolling our streets, being round about 3 years in the police, which means they are still schoolboys and schoolgirls in terms of their life knowledge.
Haven't got the confidence, haven't got the experience.
Correct. Exactly that. They're scared. So the issues here is that something needs to be done to reverse that and re-empower the police where they feel they're going to do that.
But a lot of this, come in here, because Andy Marsh, who leads the College of Policing, I mean, College of Policing, could argue, is one of the problems. They were told, stop doing non-crime hate incidents by, Home Secretary after Home Secretary, but carried on doing it. They've been pushing a whole agenda themselves. I mean, they're saying you should spend time dealing with this, but they've been, like sending police out to deal with my guest coming up at 11 o'clock who's just standing there peacefully, with a billboard on. Now, I mean, the reality is that the police, I would say the biggest undermining of police officers on the beat has actually been carried out by the College of Policing and chief police officers, who are hugely ideological and political now and no longer see their job as rank and file, get on with it policing.
I agree with you completely. A lot of the doctrine that comes out from the College of Policing is actually behind some of this demoralisation of it. So, there's one case, and you'll remember it, and it's been on here, I think, the past month or so ago in Dorset. Their most active police constable, continually commended, was dismissed after taking down a violent youth in possession of a knife who'd assaulted an old man because he used the F word and called him a bitch. And
language. Apologies for that language. Sorry.
I think bitch is probably okay, but I didn't.
No, don't say it again, please. I apologise to anybody for offended by that language.
The female dog. But anyway, the point I'm making, and this guy afterwards, I don't know if you know, having been dismissed from the police, recently detained another violent shoplifter because he's that way. But
it's in his blood. Yeah.
That lesson has been picked up by every proactive police officer in the country who think far better to not get involved if I want to pay my mortgage.
Yeah, we understand that. But listen, can I bring you back to the subject in hand? In terms of the smell of cannabis, there's been this idea, and it's very much pushed by sort of the left-wing left. And actually, I'm going to say the libertarian right as well. Like, look, people should be free to do, as long as you're not actually, hurting someone else. What difference does it make if people are doing drugs? But of course, the process by which the drugs, whatever they are, whether it's heroin or whether it's cannabis, but the process by which that drug gets into your hands involves a huge amount of criminality and organised gangs and violence and often exploitation of people who are very, very vulnerable as well in the community, the county line gangs and things like that. But also, I remember living in New York before Rudy Giuliani, and I know there's lots of question marks about whether it did change or not, but certainly the change for me was off the scale when I went back there afterwards in terms of this idea of tackling every small petty crime, the urinating in the street, the jaywalking, you tackle all the little crimes, and actually, the smoking of drugs in public, and actually you get people who've got knives on them who are actually already wanted for a robbery, and actually tackling those low-level crimes. So for me, the people riding the bikes on the pavement and going through red light, tackling all of that stuff actually improves life for the ordinary person much more. But you actually grab an awful lot of largely the young men who are committing all the other crime as well.
Julia, you're talking about the zero tolerance doctrine of Bill Bratton. Yeah. And for what it's worth, so you know where I am, I used to have my own TV programme when I was a police chief, called Britcop's Zero Tolerance Policing.
Love it.
And it always started off with me saying, they don't rule the streets, we do.
Yeah, well, so, they do rule the streets now, don't they?
Yeah. The issue on it is, Julia, if you allow incivilities to grow and grow in all their forms, then the yobs, if you like, the louts, think they can do what they like. So if you don't enforce people paying their fares on buses and tubes, you don't enforce people throwing litter on the floor.
Oh, yes.
Throwing their McDonald's wrappers outside that. You don't enforce against abusive and unpleasant language on the street. These kind of things, and indeed cannabis smoking on the street, then people think that you can do what you like. You need to set a tone of what is acceptable. You don't need to put everyone in prison. No. But what you do need to do is if someone thinks it's okay to throw their McDonald's wrapper in front of you as you walk along the floor, say to them, pick that up, please, and put it in the bin. No. In which case, I'll require your name and address because I'm going to get you summonsed. No. In which case, you will be arrested if you don't give your name and address. No. In which case, I'm going to get another 20 people here and you will be arrested. The point I'm making is we have created a culture where police back off. Yeah. So if you go onto an estate where there's disorder caused by yobbery, for want of a better word, the default position of supervisors, leaders, because they should be leaders, but I'll call them supervisors because they think like that as opposed to let's lead, let's inspire. Let's withdraw for community tranquility purposes.
Yeah, and we see that again and again, and then people can ride roughshod. We're going to have to leave it there, but I'm sure the audience are cheering you on there. Kevin Hurley, former Detective Chief Superintendent of the Met Police, thank you so much. Come on again very soon. Sam Armstrong, this is it, isn't it? It's like, it's dope, it's people smoking cannabis on the streets, it's cigarettes butts, it's the littering, it's the riding through red lights, it's the scooters on the pavement, it's the shoplifting, it's the feet on seats, it's the fare dodging, it's all of that is making life in many of our towns and cities utterly intolerable and is leading people. You can see the way I feel even just talking about it. I'm sort of walk to work and I'm angry by the time I get because I see so much of this. And lots of people feel that we're living in a lawless country now.
I'm fed up with people being told that it's not okay for them to feel intimidated when they see a group of young men smoking this
Young women are
cannabis,
just as scary now, by the way.
it obviously reeks, it is threatening, it is menacing, and as Kevin said, those streets, those public spaces are ours. They're for all of us to enjoy, and they are not the preserve of the most intimidating, the most law abusing, the kind of survival of the fittest jungle environment that at times it has become in recent years.
Absolutely.